I was a single parent for a long time. So I had those successes so I could taste success, but it wasn't necessarily success in what I wanted to do.
You're listening to the Icandemy Podcast, the podcast for people who can but don't know how. This is where you get actionable steps to turn vague dreams into blissful realities. And I'm your host, Omoshola Victoria Wolabi. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for engaging. It really means a lot to us. And today I'm going to be talking about dreams. Our dreams before we see them become a reality. We're often told becoming successful means, do not limit yourself, never give up, try new things, be positive. But how long can we actually hold on to a dream that seems like it's always eluding us each time we try to accomplish it? How long can we hold on before we let go and give up on that dream? And that is why today I have a very special guest, Yulonda Cheeks. Yulonda is a proud native of Newark, New Jersey. She's a full-time flight attendant, an entrepreneur, and a published author. She's also a self-development speaker and goal coach. She has a background in real estate, sales, and she's a notary professional. She speaks to women and men while traveling throughout the world for work, assisting them with identifying their passion. She helps them realize the tasks that they need to do to plot, plan, and propose their purpose, all while protecting their intellectual property. The goal is to turn a dream that's true into a dream come true. Thank you so much for coming on, Yulonda. Thank you so much for honoring the invitation.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Hi. I'm sure everyone can relate to your story. Everyone can relate to having a teenage dream that, they really were passionate about at some point, and somewhere along the line, it kind of fizzled out. And you, on the other hand, have been able to not only have a dream, but to hold on to that dream and see it come to pass. And we're going to talk about that. I'll talk about that in a minute. Before I dive into that, though, I want you to please, in your own words, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about you. Who is Yulonda Cheeks?
Well, I am Yulonda Cheeks. And first and foremost, I always tell everyone that my primary job is being a mom. I have two boys who are grown. They're 28 and 27. However, I still feel like they're my little boys. So I am a mom first. And then I am, like you said, a full-time flight attendant. I am a published author. I just self-published my second book. And what else would I want someone to know about me? As far as being an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and I have been searching for a long time for my passion because I knew it was there. I just didn't know exactly what it was. And I finally feel like I'm in a place where all of my dreams are coming through. So that's why my slogan is that, making your dreams come through. And, we'll talk about exactly how I've done that. But that's really the story of my life, being a mom, being an entrepreneur, and flying around the world on someone else's dime and seeing beautiful places while getting paid.
That must be the life. That's the life we all aspire to, traveling around the world on someone else's dime. That's the life right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. I would not change that for the world.
Now, okay, tell us a bit about, this is a story I find really fascinating because a lot of us are very quick to let go of that dream. When I say quick, this is not without effort, though. We've tried a lot of things. And when it just seems like it's not working, we just let go of it. So how did the idea of being a flight attendant come about?
The idea came about because I was a child who flew alone a lot to see my grandparents. I lived in New Jersey with my mom, and my grandparents lived in Suffolk, Virginia. And although it's a 40-minute plane ride, my grandparents would send for me as an unaccompanied minor. Right. And I would fly down to Virginia. And I remember how sweet and nice all the flight attendants were to me while I was traveling as a little girl. And I was very mature as a little girl, but at the same time, I just loved watching them. So I always said in my head, you know what? I'm going to be a flight attendant one day. At the time, it was a flight attendant or a teacher. When
Right.
I think almost maybe 1 out of 5 little girls wants to be a teacher. So when I was 19, I actually applied to become a flight attendant, and I received the interview. I was flown out to Chicago for this particular airline. And at the time, I was very thin and tall. I've always been tall. And they told me that my body was not proportioned for the uniform. So they sent me home. They sent me home. And, I started what I thought was going to be my life of just, working a 9 to 5 and being in corporate America at the time. And once I started having children, raising children, I thought that was going to be my life. And so that's how it started.
Right.
So then when I was it was actually my 44th birthday. I was in New Jersey. I had moved to Virginia, but I was in New Jersey celebrating my birthday with my sons. And one of my girlfriends who lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, called me and said, I just saw a bunch of flight attendants walking through the airport. They're going to Norfolk to hire flight attendants, and you need to go home. So I said, oh, okay, I'll do that. I had interviewed with a couple of airlines prior to that, and I didn't get the job. So I said, you know what, this is the last time I'm trying, but I'll go and I'll do it. And I went down for the interview and I got it. And that's how I became a flight attendant. It was as simple as that. After all those years, just having it in the back of my head and then revisiting it in my 40s and, doing a little research, looked at a few companies, and those companies didn't see me as a fit, which was fine. And then Omni did. So I became a flight attendant at 44 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. Hold that thought for a bit, because I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Okay, so you just told us about how you make it look like it just kind of happened when you turned 44. You were 19 years old when you first went for your first interview as a flight attendant, and you were told your body was not the right fit for the job. At 19, that's crushing, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you throughout high school, I already had a complex because I was just skin and bones, literally. So, I had friends who had very nice shapes and all that kind of stuff, but I was always, always, always very thin and lean, great athlete, but not very attractive to the boys. I didn't get a lot of attention in high school, nor, my first couple of years in college. So that was very defeating. And I just went on to live. I didn't let that bother me. I was upset about it, but I didn't let it bother me because I did have to, maintain some sort of income even at 19 years old. And I just kept plugging away. And then when the opportunity presented itself, it just seemed like it was supposed to happen when it happened 25 years later.
You said earlier that prior to when it actually happened, you had tried to apply for some other companies for the same position. How many times did you try to apply again after the first rejection at 19?
I applied twice. Right. And with one of the carriers, I made it all the way to the live interview, the in-person interview. So I knew I had it. And I mean, I was there for the last round of questioning everything. So I knew when I went into that room that I had the job. But those folks that went into that particular room that day were the ones that they were letting go. So I went all day for an all-day interview, and I did not get the job. And then I applied again to another carrier, and I got up to the video interview. And then I didn't hear back for a little while, for a couple of weeks. And then I finally got what we call in the business, thank you, but no thanks.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for applying, but no, thank you. We're not hiring you. That, kind of upset me, but I'm resilient. So I just kept plugging away. And I don't know if at that point I was thinking that I was going to apply anywhere again as a flight attendant. But like I said, my girlfriend called me and she said, because she knew I had been applying. And when she got the information, she was like, get there and sell yourself. And that's what I did. and I was in sales prior. So I knew how to sell myself because that's what I always felt. And I think even your listeners should understand this, is that if you can get in front of someone, that's your opportunity. That's your
Right.
opportunity to sell yourself to whoever it is that you want to give you something, and use that, what they call like the elevator speech,
Mm-hmm.
where you make sure you tell them everything that they need from you as quickly as possible. And that's what I did.
Absolutely. I recorded a video recently. I was talking about, it was in the context of, applying for a job. And I said in the video, if you are given that opportunity, invited to that table, you have
Right.
the obligation on yourself to actually sell yourself the best way you know how. So
Absolutely.
you just need that one opportunity to get into that door.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
use those strategies. And for me, who knows me better than me? No one. so
Yeah.
I was able to do it. And I went through the process. It was an all-day interview as well. You had to learn a few things about safety equipment. And I sat there on my lunch hour. I didn't move. I didn't go anywhere. I learned everything that they told me to learn so that we could finish out the interview. And I got it. And they handed me the paperwork to go get fingerprinted and drug tested. And I waited for my date to go to training.
Wow. Okay. When you got that call from your friend,
Mhm.
was there something in the back of your mind that just felt, oh, I've been there, done that. I don't think I want to do this again?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I am the type of person, and I've always been the type of person, that if there's something that I want to do, I just say to myself, okay, well, maybe now's not the time.
Right.
But when things are presented to me, I've learned that, probably the hard way, but when things are presented to me, I say, okay, well, it's worth a shot. Let me at least try it once. Let me at least try it again. If it's the same situation in a different context, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. So because she called me, because she had facts, she had factual information that they were hiring that day, I knew that that was probably going to be my last opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I jumped in my car and I drove 6 hours, basically in the middle of the night, to get there, get home, take a shower, get dressed, and get to that interview at 6 a.m.
Girl, that's great. That's some great right there. I love your story so much, and it inspires me. Like the first time we talked, I was like, oh my God. And I started asking myself the question, what are you willing to give to get your dreams to come true? How long are you willing to hold on?
Exactly. And the thing that I can tell you is, don't ever let go. Don't ever let go, because you never know when it's going to happen.
Right.
We have in our minds, because of how society is made up right now, that we have to have what we want right now. And with the internet and me even being able to talk to you, I've never, ever, ever in my life spoken to someone from New Zealand. So with the technologies that we have, we think that we can do anything at that moment.
Right.
And that's just not how the universe works. We're in our situations when we're supposed to be. And I would say never, ever let go of your dreams, because those dreams, and I say this all the time, whatever you're dreaming of, it's already the truth, because it's in you. You just have to take action when it's time to make those dreams come through. And once you get through that dream, you can tell this story, just like I can tell my story to you now.
Yeah.
Had I not believed that that was a truth in me, then we wouldn't be talking. Yeah.
You're just dropping those truth bombs right there. And I just want to go back to something important that you said. You kind of just breezed over it, but that is the problem that we face today. The internet is a blessing in the fact that I can talk to you, you're in New Jersey, I'm here in New Zealand, and we can just talk like we're in the same room. However, the instantaneous effect of the internet is what is causing a lot of young people to give up on their dreams so quickly. Because, I do something once, it didn't happen, the reaction didn't come almost immediately. They're like, yeah, it doesn't work.
Right. And I think it's up to us as parents, as adults over 30. I don't know how old you are, but I'm over 30 as an adult, over 30, that we have to keep reaching back and letting them know that the internet is not the work. They are. So
wow. Say that again. Say that again. The internet is not the work. You are. I'm going to write
you
that
are,
down.
yes, you have to let them know that the internet that's not where you're going to get the work. If you get 500 likes, that doesn't mean that you made it. It
Right.
just means that 500 people liked what you posted, because what you post doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. Only you know what the truth is. So you have to do the work to make whatever it is that you're striving to be, striving to do, striving to make happen. You have to do the actual work, or it's not going to happen for you. The internet is just a facade.
And that's so true, because when I was preparing for this interview and I was just, going over your story again, something jumped out at me. And it was the fact that sometimes success is relative. That was what jumped out at me, right? And sometimes when we hear about all these old successful people, we start to think their success is our success. But the
Right.
mere fact that you were able to hold on for a dream you had a vision for at 19 and didn't get to happen until you were 40 is success on its own merit. It's not easy to hold on that long to actually see a dream manifest. Yeah. That's successful in my definition of success.
That's absolute success. And I can tell you that during my journey to this place that I'm in now, I had great jobs. I had absolutely great jobs that paid great money. I was able to take care of my boys very nicely. I owned homes, all that good stuff. Everything that the American dream is supposed to be, I was able to do it.
Right.
It was against odds because I am from Newark, New Jersey, and I'm a woman, and I was a single parent for a long time. So I had those successes so I could taste success, but it wasn't necessarily success in what I wanted to do. So, I would also get those conversations of, well, why do you keep trying so many different things? You have a good job, you have a nice house, you have a nice car, why do you keep trying other things? Because it wasn't fulfilling for me. It wasn't fulfilling.
Hey everybody, it's Amoshala here with a quick word from our sponsors. You see, when you decide to become an entrepreneur, one thing you do not realize you're signing up for is actually the amount of skills that you need to learn, especially if you're bootstrapping your business and trying to do a lot of things yourself. So things like building a website, social media marketing, photography, those are skills that you need when you are getting started as an entrepreneur. And that was what I was quick to realize when I started my business. But hey, Skillshare came to the rescue. With Skillshare, I was able to go there and take tutorials from people who have been exactly where I was, but are now experts in their field. So whether you're trying to build your website, trying to learn how to market your product on social media, or trying to improve on your communication and facilitation skills, Skillshare has got you. With Skillshare, you're able to learn new skills fast and effectively with step-by-step guided tutorials. And as a lovely listener, Skillshare has been kind enough to allow our listeners 2 months free of premium Skillshare. So to access 2 months free of premium Skillshare, click on the link below in the show notes.
When one of my employers, every year they would take us on a management retreat and we would go to different places. So the first year we went to the Bahamas, then we went to Barbados. We went to Mexico. And when we were traveling, I'm like, I want to do this all the time. And that flight attendant mentality came to mind. And I kept telling folks, well, I think I'm just going to move to Aruba and rent jet skis or something, because I wanted to just always travel. And I believe that at that point, it was just something that every time I went on a trip, it was just a reminder of not to let go, because maybe one day you'll be flying to places that you've never been. Right. And it happened. So I would just say that whatever successes that you are having right now, that embrace them, use them to your benefit. But if it's something that's gnawing in you, like you mentioned earlier, if it's gnawing, if it's keeping you up at night, if you can't stop thinking about it, don't give up on it. Even if you have to plan, plot, and propose, until you reach your purpose, at least you know what it looks like. And once you know what something looks like, it never goes away.
Wow. You did not only get your dream job when you turned, when you were 40, you also did something else that a lot of us will deem too late to do. You went back to college.
I did. I went back to college at 42. I went back to college at 42. The motivation for that was my oldest son was in college.
Right.
And I wasn't very good. Everything's not always positive. So I wasn't adjusting well to the empty nest. So when my son went to college, when my oldest son went to college, my youngest son, at the time, he was still living in Florida with his dad. And I was home alone with my dog.
Mm.
And when I tell you, not going to basketball games, football games, sporting events, running him, to his friend's house for parties and all those things that we do as parents.
Right.
When I would come home after work, I was bored. I was lonely. And I said, okay, I have to do something. And this is what I did. I stalked him, basically. He went to the college that I did not graduate from, which was nice. He got a scholarship for track and all that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back to school and get my degree. And I went to the same school. So now I'm on campus. Of course, I'm a traveling student. I'm going back and forth, commuting. But he stayed on campus, and I could have dinner with him at least, 2 nights a week, and I could see him in passing on campus. And that
I'm just trying to paint a picture in my head of how that was.
And I would ride past the dorm and things like that. So that was my adjusting to the empty nest syndrome. So that was, I guess it was a negative turning into a positive, because I ended up taking the acceleration program, and I finished my degree. I walked in because I didn't do well in college when I was 18, hence why I applied to become a flight attendant at 19.
Right.
I didn't really do well. I didn't have good grades or anything like that. I was an honor student in high school. But, I got great grades in high school. But once I got to college, it was an adjustment, and it just wasn't really working for me. So I wasn't concentrating. So when I went back as an adult, I went back and my grade point average was a 1.9.
Right.
So I took accelerated courses because I had to take a lot of classes over. And in 4 semesters plus 1 summer, 1 winter, I was able to achieve my BA in English with a concentration in creative writing. And I got my grade point average up. They don't forgive you, even though you do poorly, as a teenager. They don't forgive you. So those 2 years that I was in college, I maintained a 3.8 average. So that brought my cumulative up, but not a lot, but it brought me up where I was able to graduate.
Wow.
Yep.
And that leads me to the next question. You're also a published author.
Yes, I'm a self-published author, where it's a big difference because I don't have anyone backing me, giving me royalty checks. Not royalty, advance checks or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I self-published my second book on Amazon on September 26th. It's a fiction novel. I'm calling it, my spin on it, it's more of a fiction journal. Right. And it's just a story of a couple that goes through life and their ups and downs, their successes and failures, and they're just trying to make it through. But it's a lot of twists and turns. And yes, I published this book just this year. Well, just a month ago. Yeah, just a month ago.
Yeah. And it's called The New York Jewel, right?
Yep. New York Jewel.
Yeah.
And New York is one of the main characters. He's the love interest of Jewel. And Jewel is the second main character. So the name is just basically a play on words of their names. So I'm hoping that this book is a jewel.
It will be. It will be. It will be. It's a beautiful story. I started reading. I haven't finished it, but it's a beautiful story that will hold you, hold your interest. For someone who is not a professional writer, you did a damn good job. I can't even write fiction. I don't know how to. I kid you not. Like I tried. I had a spin at writing fiction, and I couldn't. I couldn't plot it together. So you have done an amazing job. It's not easy to write fiction. I find it easier to write nonfiction than fiction.
Now, nonfiction is a lot easier. My first book, I wrote it I think it was like 2013, because it was during the time that I was in college. Because I said, okay, well, I'm taking English with creative writing. Let me try to write something.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a very good friend. I said, can I write the story of your life? And he said, yes. And so I did. And it was a short read,
Mm-hmm.
but at least I did it. I published it on Amazon. I did not promote it at all. It was just kind of, I don't know, experiment.
Right.
But I knew, and I've also known that since I was a little girl, that I love to write. So I've always journaled. I've journaled since I could write. My mother taught me to write. I believe I was 4 because she taught me to read when I was very young as well. So I was reading, before I even entered kindergarten.
Wow.
And as well as writing. Yeah. So I've always loved to write. And when it was time to write an essay in school, I was the first one at the library, doing my research and all that good stuff. So that has always been a passion as well. So when I got to the point where, I started to see that my life could be, what I wanted it to be and look like what I wanted it to look like, I finally got the nerve to publish the book.
Amazing. You have an amazing story. I want you to highlight, I know it sounds obvious. I know you've highlighted some of the challenges that you went through, but what are some of the things that maybe one particular thing that may have stopped you from actually fulfilling that dream, but you were able to overcome, and how did you overcome that?
One thing, and that pops right up, they say that you should say whatever comes to your mind first. The first thing that pops up in my head when you ask me that question is that I was always looked at to be a good girl. And, I got good grades. I didn't get in any trouble. I was always polite and respectful to my elders, and I wasn't a bad child. So that's what I had like tattooed on my forehead, is like, she's a good girl. And because I had that pedestal put in front of me, I always felt like I had to do what was right.
Right. And
that's a lot for a child. That's a lot for a person in general when, sometimes you just don't feel like it.
Absolutely. You don't feel like being the trophy child. You just want to live. I know.
You don't feel like it. And a lot of times that's what held me back in doing certain things, going certain places, and just experimenting on certain things. And I hid a lot of things from my family, my friends, my parents. And when I say hid, I hid what was in me because I didn't want them to judge me. I didn't want them to think that, well, maybe she's not as good as we think, But I was having problems too. Things were happening to me that nobody was helping me with because I couldn't talk. I couldn't, say anything that was going on that didn't look pretty or nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I'm a little messed up too. Like somebody help me. But
I can totally relate. That's why I'm laughing so hard, because I can so relate.
Yep.
Having to live up to expectations.
Yes. Okay. And that's a lot of it. So what I did is what I ended up doing is if I did make mistakes, I fixed them on my own. I never went to anyone else. And I just started, living a very singular life. Okay, I got to go to work. I have to feed my children. I have to clothe my children. I have to have shelter for my children. And every once in a while, I can have some fun. And that's what hindered me from being the Yulonda I am today, because I just wanted everybody to, look at me like I was perfect.
Absolutely. I can totally relate to that. Like, even when my family first heard I was writing, and they were like, what is she doing? Just go get a job, get a job. And that's where you should be. So I totally can relate to that part of your story. You shared so much with us today, you. I just want you to please share this is the last step of our conversation. I want you to please share 5 actionable steps for someone who has a dream. They're probably in their mid-30s like I am now, and I'm thinking, maybe I should just let it go. Not going to happen. How can you encourage them in 5 ways to keep going?
Okay, so number 1 is, I would say, to get a journal, a dream journal, and that's what I want them to call it. Get a dream journal and write every dream they ever had. Write it down physically with an ink pen or pencil. and a piece of paper, write everything down. That's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is go back to those dreams periodically. So if it's once a month, if it's, twice a year, go back to those dreams. If they're busy, go back to those dreams and reread them. So that's 1 and 2, because I believe that if you write it down, it becomes engraved in your head because you can see what you wrote down. And if you keep revisiting it, it's going to keep triggering something in you to maybe take a step. The third thing I would say is to pick one and start working on it. You got to do something. You got to do something. And if you just have the dream and you just let it sit there, nothing's ever going to happen.
Absolutely.
This fourth thing is really, really important, is tell someone else what your dream is. Tell your mother, your sister, your brother, a good friend, a mentor, a teacher, person at church, whatever it is. Tell someone that you trust what your dream is, and ask them to keep reminding you of what your dream is. I truly believe that we need to have goal friends and goal mates. So where we have like best friends and soulmates, we need to have goal friends and goal mates, people that are helping us achieve our goals, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Sure.
And then the fifth thing is to go inside yourself and find out what it is that you're afraid of. The thing that holds us back from our dream every time is never money. It's never that we don't have the idea. It's never, the fact that we can't sit in front of a computer and do it. It's always our fear.
Sure.
Find out what that fear is and begin to work on letting go of that fear, because fears aren't real. They aren't real because we create those in ourselves to protect us.
Right.
And it's not protecting you. It's holding you back. So find out what your fear is and step over it.
Wow. This is actually so good.
Thank you.
Really, so good. Step by step, find out, go back to get a dream journal. I like that. Get a dream journal, write it down. Visit those dreams periodically. Pick one and start working on it, because that's another thing that holds people back. I have so many dreams. I don't know which one to work on. Tell a trusted person what that dream is and let them be your accountability person who will hold you accountable to that dream. And
Absolutely.
Then find out what your fear is. What are you afraid of? Because you're so right. A lot of us, fear is the biggest reasons why we don't take action. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Because I can tell you, and I can tell your listeners that my fear in actually publishing my book, and this is bare, raw truth, is that because it's an adult read, I didn't want people to judge me and think that I was this nasty person. And then I had to say to myself, well, I'm not.
Exactly. That's my creativity.
I'm not. And I'm like, and this is love. And what's wrong with love? What's wrong with love? Nothing. Nothing is wrong with love. And that's how I was able to press send on my book, is because I finally said, you know what? People are going to judge you whether you're doing right or whether you're doing wrong. So if this is my passion, if this is one of my dreams, I need to do it. And if only one person reads this book, at least I did it.
This has been so good, you. Thank you so much for sharing so much with us, for being so open, letting us see who the real you is. Yeah. Oh, I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Like I said, thanks for having me. This has been wonderful. And I'm excited. I'm excited about telling my story. I'm excited about people knowing who I am, where I came from, and all of the things that I've gone through to get here. And, some people, they have a nice life and they don't have to go through anything. But I've been through a lot. And I believe that it's time for me to help other people know that they are not alone, and that there are other people, other women who go through the same things. And we just have to help one another.
Right.
And we definitely have to reach back to our girls, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether there's, someone you just meet in the street. We have to reach back and help these girls so that they don't have to wait until they're 49 years old to publish a book.
True. True. Because they're scared, because they're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of being judged. That's so true.
Yeah.
So true. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. This was really a good conversation. I learned a lot. I have a note full of things here. I was scribbling down as you were talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just want to say a big thank you too for coming on and just, being open and sharing your story. And yes, a lot of people need to hear your story. It inspired me to do better, to open up my dream journal, because I've been keeping one since forever. I have a book where I write all my dreams down.
Okay.
And you inspired me to go back in there and look.
Yes.
Yeah. After the first time we spoke, I went back there and I looked at those. I was like, yeah, I can do this.
You'll find one that will jump out at you, and you'll finally say, okay, out of the 102 dreams that I've written in this book, this one, I like this. Let me do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And for more content like this, follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, it's at Icandemy, the Facebook page. On Instagram, it's at Icandemy. Or come say hello over on my personal page. On Instagram, it's at Omoshola Speaks. On Facebook, it's Victoria Wolabi. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hello. I love meeting you. And if you have any stories that you feel will inspire another woman to action, I want to hear from you. I really do. I love hearing from you. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. So it's hello@icandemy.org. And if you find this content valuable, please rate and review on iTunes. Leave a review. It matters to us so that people can find it. So rate, and review on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to your podcast. Thank you.